is Sports Shorts Radio. It's the fastest 2 hours on the radio, covering it all from the Fighting Tigers of LSU to the tracks of NASCAR on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge. Now, here's Ronnie Rance, Tommy Krysan, and Hunter McCann.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sports Shorts. Ronnie Rance here with you as we do every Saturday morning from 10 to noon in Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and Lake Charles. Today we are broadcasting live in one of the great cities in Louisiana. Plaquemine, Louisiana is where we are, and Plaquemine at Fat Daddy's and Little Daddy's. If you've tuned into the show, you know every the first Saturday every month we're at Fat Daddy's and Little Daddy's, the home of some of the best po' boys. Fat Daddy's is the sandwich shop side, the family side, and then Little Daddy's, great place where you can throw darts, you can listen to a lot of music sometimes. It's kind of that old neighborhood bar feel, but it's got the video poker, great food, and besides all the wonderful foods, I mean, it's a tradition, Fat Daddy's and Little Daddy's in Plaquemine. They are the home of the sandwich of the month, and this month it is the Sloppy Jose. It's a little pork carnitas, rojo sauce, avocado, pico de gallo, Mexican cheese blend, all on a torta roll. It is the Sloppy Jose, and I will be trying one of those here momentarily, and I'll let you know what I think about it. I love the fact that they do the sandwich of the month, change it up each and every month. It's only here for 30 days, and then it's gone.
Yeah, what they do at the end of the year, the customers get to vote, like which one did they like the first 11 months, and that's what they roll out in December. So that's really cool, man. Love coming to this place. I mean, you know me, I got my Sharon special, the roast beef with the onions and the Swiss cheese and the mozzarella and all that stuff. And there's so many good things. I've had the fried shrimp. I've had the fried fish. It's just so good. They take care of you here. The doors are open now, so stop by Fat Daddy's in Plaquemine.
He's Tommy Krysan, no Hunter McCann today, live with us. He'll be joining us via a phone segment.
He hasn't confirmed yet. You know, there's vacations, Ron.
Well, wedding day, big wedding day, right? I think he's in a wedding,
family
or something.
Wedding or something.
Who knows?
I don't know. I didn't get the total details, but
we keep saying it. I want to be Hunter McCann when I grow up. You guys get the best schedule of anybody on the planet.
Wrigley Field a couple weeks ago. I mean, gee.
Yeah. We'll have Joel Davis that'll join us at 10:30. A lot of topics, of course, to get to the first week of May. Traditionally this time of year, Tommy, we would be just fired up to talk LSU baseball. Where are they in the standings? Are they going to be winning a conference championship? What do they have to do to be a top 8 national seed? I mean, those would traditionally be the lines of questioning and conversation and everything when it comes to this neck of the woods here in Baton Rouge and when the calendar turns to May. That is not the case this year. The case this year, after they have now lost 9 SEC games in a row, have we seen anything from Bill Franquez as far as has that ever happened before?
They've never lost three-game series in a row. They did lose back in the day. There was some 2-game series.
Right.
Like in the 60s, they lost 3 of those in a row.
Right.
But it's the first time they've ever lost three-game series in a row in Southeastern Conference play. Wow. That's just and Hunter McCann's confirmed he'll join us about 12, 13 minutes.
The thing that's just so amazing, and we've seen it, though, it's a real thing, that the national championship hangover is real. I mean, you look at what Mississippi State did a few 5 years ago. You look at Ole Miss. These are teams that won the national championship the following year, not in the postseason. LSU in 24 after winning in 23. They don't host a regional. They got to go on the road to Southern Miss. They don't make it out of a regional. And then clearly this year in 26, I mean, this is a team that doesn't look like it's even going to make the postseason, not beyond the SEC tournament.
We go back, there were 1 or 2 in the country, depending on which poll you looked at, and picked to win the SEC by the media and by all the coaches. Everybody, said, hey, on paper, this is good. But, Ronnie, we all know you don't win games on paper. You don't win games with potential, and we should be good. We get it. And, Ronnie, I got some numbers here for you. LSU, I was on the radio with Ken Trahan and the Wall and Jesse. LSU's 15th in the league defensively, 16th in the league with team ERA, 5.32 team ERA. That is 16th in the league. Batting, they're tied for 7th at 281. But, that 15th in the league in defense, 16th in the league in ERA, you got to be hitting more than 281.
It is just absolutely shocking how what has happened to this LSU baseball team this year. Now, here's the thing about the modern way of college sports, not just baseball. Obviously, you can be on top of the mountain one year, you can be on the bottom of the mountain the next year. I mean, look at in football. You look at what Florida State did a few years ago when they, had this amazing team that got left out of the playoffs. That was back when it was a 4-team playoff because of their quarterback went down and whatnot. But you have a situation where they're, one of the best teams in America, and then the next year were just absolutely terrible. And you used to never see it like that before. It used to, once you get a program going and you had some depth and you had, a few good recruiting classes, like you were relevant and good for a few years, you didn't just go off the cliff. But now in sports, you're redoing your rosters, particularly in basketball. We're seeing it more in baseball at the highest levels. You don't have that pipeline. It's your team, whether it be the entire team or 50% of your team, is new each and every year. And when that happens, you don't have that carryover effect from the year before. Like this 2026 LSU baseball team, most of those guys weren't on last year's team that won the national championship. So there's not that carryover. You don't have that experience, that bond, that familiarity with each other. That I know what your strengths and weaknesses are. You know mine. The whole 9 yards. You are literally signing an agreement to have a 9-month team each and every year, and you got to start over again. And I guarantee you, the 27 LSU baseball team is going to be a lot of new faces, even more maybe than this year.
Ronnie, the old thing, like every team has its own identity, and sometimes you don't find that until you get down the road in the schedule a little bit. That's even magnified by 100 now, because this is nowhere close to the same team, and everybody's got their reasons and their thoughts, but the bottom line is you got to get 27 outs. You got to keep the other team off the bases. You can't make errors. All the old cliches fit. And, that year after the championship syndrome, we'll see what happens with Indiana football this year. We know their story last year. We'll see if maybe they have a letdown. It could be you get a little fat and happy. You think you're better than you really are. Maybe you don't realize, go back to Nick Saban's thing, the process. You got to realize, how did you get there? And then, we saw the stories when Saban would win a national title. Next morning, he's calling recruits because they got to get ready for the next one. You can't sit back, complacency, whatever it might be. And, with all that being said, I mean, LSU baseball is just the 2-2 hasn't added up to 4 all year. I mentioned this on Sports Shorts Friday the other day. There's been a couple of spots where you said, hey, this team's really good. They had 15, 16 hits in a game and scored runs. They had some comebacks when they were down 5+, 7 runs in that one game. They came back. So you've seen some glimmers of hope, a little sparkle now and then, but the consistency, we've used that word a lot on Sports Shorts Monday and Sports Shorts Friday. The consistency's just not been there in any way, shape, or form. And then that's how you end up, in the situation that they're at, in 15th place in the SEC. And, got 10 games left. There's 9 SEC games left. There's a game against Tulane out of New Orleans next week. Tulane's a middle-of-the-road team this year as well. But that's all you got left in this season. South Carolina here. Then you got Florida and Alabama on the schedule. So it's going to be interesting. Doubleheader today. Ronnie, you and I both played lots of doubleheaders back in the day, but I was 7-inning doubleheaders. That's what y'all did, right? When you did the doubleheader with 2 7s. This is 2 9. Isn't it 2 9s today? Well, we have to get with Bill or Frank has on that, check it up. But I think it's 2 9s because it's not on the final day. But I could be wrong. We'll get clarification on that. Maybe somebody out there listening can text me and tell me if it's 2 7s. But I haven't seen that it wasn't 2 9s. I'll leave it that way.
I think it's 2 7s, but I want to just triple check because now you put some doubt in my head.
I'll text Bill.
But today is also no, it's actually 2 9s. Yeah, 2 9-inning games.
Who you got?
I just searched it.
Okay. I didn't.
According to the SEC, here's the rules. According to the SEC regulations, doubleheaders played on the first or second day of a scheduled series consist of 2 9s. 7-inning games are typically reserved for doubleheaders played on the final day of a series. Yeah, I mean, when people forget that when in the early 90s or 80s into the early 90s, mid 90s, they didn't play 3 games. They played a 3-game series, but they played it over 2 days. So when I was in college in 91, 92, 93, you played a 7-inning game first. Then you played a 9-inning game after that as a doubleheader. And then you played a single 9 on Sunday. So, I mean, that was 2 less innings you had to pitch. So guys like Scott Schultz in 1992 as a freshman, he would kind of throw that 7-inning game and had a dominant All-American performance. I mean, he pretty much went at least 6 every time out, and then maybe Rick Green or somebody might come in and throw the 7th. But a lot of times Scott had some complete games. And then, people like Mike Sorotka, his freshman year had a great year. He'd throw that 7th-inning game a lot of times. So Brett Laxton would throw that 7th-inning game. That was a good entry point for those superstar freshmen, and oftentimes they would ride that game.
Well, Ronnie, my sophomore year at Southeastern, we played 68 games. We did not have a rain out. You didn't have the 56-game limit that you have now. We had 68 games on the schedule. We played 68. Rougarou needed that kind of weather, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, out of those 68 games, I'm going to say maybe 10 were 9-inning games. Because sometimes we'd play UNO or Tulane, and it would just be a single 9-inning game. But we played other people, it was 2 7s many more times than not. Of course, that's forever ago, and things change. But, yeah, 2 9s today, which maybe LSU with their bullpen, 2 7s might be better. What you think?
Not even a question. Yeah, no, I mean, they need a lobby to change that rule. Look, also today over talking about LSU baseball, there is a happy storyline today, and that is it is a alumni weekend, alumni reunion kind of weekend. It's also alumni reunion weekend for the Raging Cajuns in Lafayette. We'll talk about that in a minute because it's a big day for Jonathan Lucroy, who's having his number retired. But for LSU, it is the 30th anniversary of the 1996 national championship team. A lot of those members of that team will be there today, will be honored on the field before the game. And that's the team that had Warren Morris had the famous walk-off home run. So it's been 30 years since Warren Morris hit a homer. I think it was June 8th, I believe is the date.
We've done this before, but where were you when Warren hit the home
I was
run?
in Manitoba, Brandon, Manitoba, Canada, which is north of North Dakota. LJ Dupuy, folks over here we're on the west side. We passed through Addis and Bruley, which is the home of LJ Dupuy, who was a legendary Legion coach and organizer of Bruley West Side baseball for years and years. He was coaching an independent team, the Brandon Gray Owls, up in Canada. It was the year I had been released by the Milwaukee Brewers organization. Was up there. Mark Alvarado from Baton Rouge, who played at Woodlawn High and was up there as well, and some others from this way. And we went up there, and Mark Alvarado and I were having lunch. Had the old TV tray out, right? Sitting on the sofa or the chairs, lazy boys, with the TV tray, eating sandwiches, and then going to head to the field after or something. And Warren hit the homer, and I was in the basement of a home in Canada. Jumped up, hit my head on the ceiling. Nothing major, but I hit my head on the ceiling because it was such a low ceiling. I was excited. And, that's where I was, and it was just an unbelievable moment. That's really, regardless of whether you're an LSU or a University of Miami fan on that 96 national championship game, it was a great game. Like, if you just like baseball, back and forth, lead changes, dramatics, knowing that it's one game, winner take all, it made everything even more pressurized. It had everything that game did. And, of course, it's a great game if you're an LSU fan. I talked to Jim Morrison, the coach for University of Miami. I saw him a couple months ago up in Overland Park, Kansas for the National College Baseball Hall of Fame induction, which he was inducted this year. And he said he still has nightmares occasionally about that game. That's one of he goes, that's something I will never get over, is losing that national championship game.
That morning, I played golf at Pinehurst number 2, where they played the U.S. Open and the big North-South Amateurs.
Yeah, one of the most famous golf courses
I played
in the
it
world.
from the tips with a caddy, and then we were in the clubhouse having a beer, and when Warren Morris hit the home run. So I was in the great clubhouse at Pinehurst in North Carolina.
Place go crazy.
There wasn't a lot of people there. I mean, college baseball back then, college baseball wasn't real popular all the way around the country.
CBS.
But no, there was
people
people were watching,
yeah.
and I don't know if crazy, but everybody, wow, walk off homer and all that, you know. And then somebody asked me, like, wasn't Warren Morris hurt earlier this year? It was crazy.
Was there any other Louisiana people with you?
No, I was with a bunch of guys from the National Alliance.
So nobody really cared as much as you did. Yeah.
Hey,
all right.
I Your River of Life capsules. You take yours this morning, Ron?
I did not, but I will on the way to Lafayette after this. Got some events over at the UL Raging Cajun Baseball. They're playing a doubleheader this afternoon. We'll talk about that when we return. But no, River of Life capsules. You've heard us talk about it. riveroflifecapsules.com. Angiogenesis Medical is the creator of these capsules that if you have any sort of joint pain or arthritic pain or anything like that, you need to take River of Life capsules. It has the top 3 natural ingredients in the world that are effective as any pharmaceutical or OTC ingredients for pain, arthritis, soreness, inflammation. It's perfectly blended. It's the turmeric, ashwagandha, ginger, and much more. You can check it all out at riveroflifecapsules.com. It's good for your stomach, liver, kidneys, and brain. Thousands of people are taking River of Life, having fantastic results, and many of our team has as well, including Hunter McCann, who will join us next. We're over here at Fat Daddies and Little Daddies in Plaquemine. Don't go anywhere. When we return, we'll talk to Hunter McCann, who will join us. Curious to see where he is. We'll get an update on everything else going on in the world of sports. Big day today. We'll talk about Live Golf. We'll talk about the Jonathan Lucroy jersey retirement at the Raging Cajuns. The Derby, 19 horses going off today for the Derby. Big day for McNeese Athletics as well. We'll tell you what's going on over in Lake Charles. And Lane Kiffin did a photo shoot in the Tiger Stadium. We'll tell you about that and more. Don't go anywhere. Sports Shorts will continue from Plaquemine right after this.
This is Sports Shorts Radio.
The sloppy Jose sandwich of the month over here at Fat Daddy's and Little Daddy's in Plaquemine. Good stuff, Tommy. Comes with the pork carnitas, rojo sauce, avocado, pico de gallo, Mexican cheese blend, all in a torta roll. Yum.
There you go. Hey, sandwich.
You gonna try it? Or you can go with your tried and true?
I'm debating. But I got a sandwich here. It's my go-to.
All right, we're joined right now by Hunter McKeon, who enjoys the sandwich of the month as much as the next guy. What's going on? What do we got today?
I'm gonna need that sandwich to go. By the way, I'll need to pack that up and make sure I get that this weekend.
That's probably not. Go ahead. Where do we got? Where are we finding you? Are we at Iceland, Ridgefield? Where are we at?
Venezuela.
I'm currently deep in the West Bank right now. Currently, we're just leaving right now, running some errands this morning for a wedding this evening, getting some stuff done. So not too far away, but sure am missing the po' boys over at Fat Daddy's this morning.
Your reaction? It's been a week since the Saints draft. What would you give the Saints rating if you had to do it on an alphabetical scale? How do you think they did as far as need and value, etc.?
I think B+ or A- is pretty fair. I mean, I think they addressed most of their needs. We talked last week during the show that I thought the best opportunity for them would be to trade up in the fourth round and get a good corner. They decided not to do that. Hung around and decided to instead get some other positions of need. Grabbed a few wideouts and then grabbed the guard as well in the fourth round in Edwards and got those type of positions. And so far in free agency, they've gone and got a few guys that solidify the defensive line and go kind of address corner as well. And now you got a few guys that might be able to play the star. And it feels like there's a lot more juice and expectations now in Kellen Moore in year two. I think they did pretty well. Now, I hate rating drafts before you ever see the players play in the NFL. Because in a perfect world, everybody's draft picks would exactly how it would. Every team would be truly competing for Super Bowls every year. But I think the Saints are in a lot better position than they were when they ended the season with only 6 wins last year. That's for sure.
Talking with which of the which of the Saints players that were drafted, I guess, excites you the most, or maybe the storyline is most interesting for you?
Jordan Tyson, without a doubt, you get that type of wide receiver in the first round, but that feels like the easy answer. I still think Christian Miller, though, in the second round was such a big pickup for the Saints to be able to get. I think he's a day one kind of plug-in guy for you on first and second down to stop the run and hopefully put yourself in a good position to be able to put in those more athletic defensive tackles that can get in there and now put pressure on the quarterback on third and long situations. But where the Saints last year ranked in the bottom half in run stop defense, they are going to be a lot better now with that addition of him in the middle because he can not only play a true nose guard position, but he can line up in the 3-tech and be able to plug those holes and everything like that. So it'll give them the ability to really then attack the quarterback, something they really weren't able to do last year besides Chase Young being able to get, he kind of had a breakout year, and it's great to still have him on the roster if you're a New Orleans Saints fan. But Christian Miller's a guy to watch out for here in his rookie year.
Talking with McKeon. All right, Hunter, we know that, we've got your best bets and things like that you do throughout the year, whether it's NHL hockey, which you kind of, that's your specialty. Not as hot as you were a year ago. We were over 60% winners, but near the 60% mark. We're talking about, bets, gambling. Did you grow up caring and watching and betting on the Kentucky Derby?
I did. Every year, it's kind of, I'm not a huge handicapper when it comes to horse racing, like traditionally, like throughout the year, but I always kind of dive in when we get closer and closer to the Derby and really kind of lock in on who I think has a great chance. Because the fun part about horse racing is really just watching these young horses, be able to see them the few races prior to the Derby, and kind of what stands out because there's a lot of trends you can follow there. And yesterday talked with TK a little bit about the Derby, and I do got a couple picks that we'll get to in a moment. But there was a few horses that I think have great odds this year, and where the Derby most years kind of feels like it could be a crapshoot, it kind of be anybody's game. This year was really wide open. But now it's down to 19 horses, and one of the horses that I thought had a great chance of finishing, in the top three, if not winning the whole thing, was the Puma, and he was scratched this morning with a swollen leg. So that shot down one of my picks. I still got two winners that I'll give you right now, Tommy and Ronnie, that I think have great chances today. The morning line on the Commandment was 6-1. He was more so one of the favorites. I liked him second behind the Puma. I think that's why that scratch really sucks, because if you asked me, gun to the head, who I thought was going to win, it was going to be the Puma. But Commandment, where he shines is his ability to kind of fight off at the very end. He doesn't have that type of breakaway speed, but he always finds himself in the front of the pack, and he's able to defend real well. So he beat Puma at the Florida Derby recently and kind of proven that he has the ability to get it done here at Churchill Downs. He's got that elite pedigree, and he's the only horse with a multiple triple digit on the buyer speed figures, which basically means that when he does find open space, he's able to break away and then sit in the front of the pack to defend, like I mentioned. So I like him on a morning line at 6-1. I saw it this morning at 5-1. That's Commandment. That's correct.
Hunter, that's right. Show I put down, and I had to go to the Twin Spires app, because a lot of the apps don't let you bet the Derby. So I had to do that every year. We get the Twin Spires, which is the horse
Company that runs Churchill Downs.
I bet it. Hopefully I'll club my winnings, and then I'll delete the app until next year.
Yeah, 4 horses, right? If it's scratched from the Derby.
Well, 3 of them. You're any part of the room, whether you're the owner, the trainer, the guy that pushes his tail, whatever it is, all the work, time, and effort and money spent to prepare for the Derby, and then Saturday morning, skin infection or leg pop, something wrong with the leg, and you got to say, whoop, can't do it. They're protecting it's in the best interest of the horse. Right?
Well,
a lot of time, effort went into that.
That's so they call it the sport of kings, because
Well, I have to say it for you, Ronnie. Ronnie, I'm going to ask you this. You want to know how you can get like $3 million in horse racing if you're in that business? You know, you can end up with $3 million. Start with 10. Right. Start with 10 million. You end up with $3 million in horse racing business.
Rick Pitino tells a famous story, the basketball legend, about how he was part owner of a horse and with like 3 other guys or something, and they got it at value. They won some races. They sold the horse or whatever, and they each got $2 million or whatever from it. And this guy, they each got a few million bucks in it. This one guy bought a condo at the beach, and the other guy bought a house, and the other guy did this with it or that with it. And Pitino put his money from it in packing the horses and all, and lost it all. All these other ones bought some stuff with their winnings and did some smart things. I reinvested into buying other horses, and none of them did anything. Lost all the money from it. Talking with Hunter McCann. All right, 19 horses today, and obviously Commandments, your pick. Where will you be able to watch it, or will you be at the wedding stuff?
So funny enough, the wedding starts at 6 o'clock, and you know that the race is at 5:57. It's the greatest 2 minutes in sports. So in a perfect world, I'm sneaking it in real quick for the bride walks down the aisle. So we'll see if I'm able to do that.
The bride is always late, so I think you'll be okay.
Yeah, great.
I might have to put it on. You'll be good.
You'll be able to watch it.
Well,
Have you ever been in, by the way, to the Derby?
Never.
Yeah.
No, but I would absolutely love to go. Just the tradition, the excitement behind it. It's the whole of it.
He's got to go so he can miss it.
No, he'll be there next year.
Vacation for 612.
I've only done it once. It was 2000. Kosiachi Pegasus won the Derby, the first ever foreign-born horse. It was owned by the Emperor of Japan. It was also the same year that the Derby had the first ever female trainer, which has been done many times since. But I will say it was cool. It's definitely worth going. It's a bucket list thing. Blah blah blah. I don't know that I, absolutely loved it so much that I want to go every year type of thing. But I'd go again. But I'm glad I did it once, and obviously it's unique and special. And it used to be, Tommy, more of a special thing, even though tons of crowds and all that. it's just there's a million channels, there's a million sports, there's a million options. It used to be one of the 3 or 4 channels, and that was it. And it was a stop the world moment. Watch that race no matter where you were.
And they're expecting a crowd of 150,000.
Right.
You got to call it Inspired to see if they'll have Sports Shorts Radio there, and then we can go.
Like it. I like it. All right, Hunter. Appreciate you joining us, man.
Tell us about Gage.
Yeah, guys.
Yeah, tell us about Gage.
Yeah, before we get out of here, one more thing. I got one more pick for a horse over on WBRT.com. It's Potente, 20 to 1 morning odds. So go take a look at that. And you get all my best bets over at WBRT.com right now. Go to the sports tab, click best bet, get all my picks. And like you mentioned earlier, the NHL, MLB, college baseball. Last night we were 5-1 in the, we were 2-1 in the NBA, 3-0 in the NHL, and 5-1 in the MLB. So go take a look at those picks today. And just remember, it's never too early to protect your home and business, especially living here in Louisiana before we get to hurricane season. You can stay powered on with a Cummins standby generator from Gage. Generators are in stock. They can be installed in just a few weeks. Contact Gage. You will not regret it. They've been in business since 1980, and they're the #1 Cummins dealer in the Gulf South. So get yourself a Cummins standby generator from Gage by contacting them at 225-753-4243. You can visit them online at gage.cloud. All right, guys. Y'all have a great rest of your morning. And don't forget to get that po' boy for me to go, please.
Yeah, absolutely. We will. Tommy will take it with you. Good luck trying to get it from him. The sloppy Jose over here at Fat Days and Little Days. Have a great one, Hunter. We'll see you next week. That segment, of course, as he mentioned, brought to you by Gage. When then we come back next segment, we'll talk to Joel Davis over at Woodenhaven Furniture Company. We'll talk about the NFL draft. Of course, he's our resident Mel Kiper, except without the good hair. And we'll talk to Joel Davis next. Also, coming up hour number 2 at 11 o'clock, we'll talk to Warren Morris, former LSU Tiger great, who will be in town today in Baton Rouge, being honored along with the 96 National Championship team, 30-year anniversary of that. And then we'll also at 11:30 go over to Lafayette, talk to Brennan Bro. He'll be on the call, former Raging Cajun outfielder. We'll be on the call today with Dan McDonald on the ESPN Plus app. You can watch the doubleheader with the Raging Cajuns starting at 2. Today, they honor Jonathan Lucroy, one of the all-time great players who's going into the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame in June. Lucroy's getting his jersey retired. You got a guy by the name of Ron Guidry, who will be there today, by the way.
Good.
And Tony Robichaux. Those are the jerseys that are retired. Now Jonathan Lucroy. So really special moment today in Lafayette. We'll talk to Brennan Bro about that as well. Don't go anywhere. Sports Shorts will continue live from Plaquemine at Fat Daddies and Little Daddies right after this.
Now back to Sports Shorts Radio.
Welcome back, everyone. Ronnie Rance here with you, live over at Fat Daddy's and Little Daddy's and Plaquemine, the home of the sandwich of the month, where this month it is the Sloppy Jose, the pork carnitas, rojo sauce, avocado, pico de gallo, Mexican cheese blend on a torta roll. I just had a half of one, and it is absolutely fantastic. Joining us right now is Joel Davis. He's over in the middle of Baton Rouge at Woodenhaven Furniture Company, the home of great handmade furniture. And today, if you pop in and you tell them you heard it on Sports Shorts Radio, Joel Davis will pay your taxes. So stop by and tell them that and go get you something good. What's going on, Joel? Big week in the world of the Davis clan. You had your son in town, a military hero. He was visiting for a week. Now he's on the road. And then also reaction to the draft. You put so much emphasis into the NFL draft. You talk about it for months. You're a giant Saints fan. How do you think the Saints did on the Joel Davis grading scale?
Well, first of all, I don't even know what to do with myself once the draft's over. What do I do with my spare time? Right? I'm already starting to look at 2027. Honestly, I'm already starting to look at those.
Stop. No, you don't say that.
But let me tell you something. This is why I'm able to predict things like Oscar Delp, who is, by the way, now the talk of New Orleans. And every podcast, every radio show, everybody's like, oh, my God, this guy's going to be incredible in our system. What a great pick. I told you we should have picked him in the second round prior to the draft. Nobody even heard of the guy. Nobody was talking about the guy because he caught 20 passes at Georgia. And I said that he would fit perfectly in New Orleans, and they have to draft this guy. I told him I would take him in the second round. And a lot of people thought that he would go in the second round. And he went to the third round, which I think is an absolute steal for New Orleans. I think their draft was amazing. I think getting Tyson, I think I did a side text with you guys telling you how I would feel if we got Jordan Tyson in the first and Oscar Delp or some possibility in the second, possibly third. Did I not text you that prior to the draft and go, oh my God, what will I do? I don't want to say what I would do, but guess what? I did it. And you only know what I did, and we can't repeat it on the air. But anywho, so super excited about the draft. I think that they really solidified a lot of positions, a lot of things that they needed to do. And I also told you that I liked Bryce Lance with this organization. And, I've done more research on him since the draft than I probably did before. I liked him before the draft. I like him right now. However, I never realized he was 24 years old. That was something I kind of overlooked. I didn't realize that he's coming into the year at 24. He'll be 24 years old in August.
Right.
So, it's not, if he was 22, I would be a lot more excited about his game because he does have a lot of holes in his game. Like he's going to be your Rashid Shaheed. He's going to take the top off the defense. That's what he's going to do. But I was really looking forward to him being more of that Vele guy, that if something happened to him, that they could plug him in. But I don't think that he can do what Vele does. I don't see him going over the middle, taking shots in the middle of the field. That's not what he did in college. So he's got a lot to prove. I think Barry and Brown, honestly, will make the team over Bryce Lance just because of what he can do, his overall game, his overall ability to run all the routes, his ability to play special teams. I think if it came down to Bryce Lance and Barry and Brown, and you just had one spot left, I think the preseason is going to be really, really big for these guys, right? I think if Barry and Brown because Barry and Brown not only can return kicks, he can play on kickoff coverage, punt coverage. He can do a lot of different things for you. 4.4 speed, and he was productive at LSU. I thought he was LSU's best receiver. I mean, that says a lot when you got highly touted, Chris Hilton coming in and you had Anderson on the team. I thought Brown was their best receiver last year, the most consistent receiver, definitely their most consistent, punt returner, kick returner. So I think the Saints got a great pick in Barry and Brown in the 6th round. And, I thought they did very well in the draft. I thought the Lorenzo Styles pick was a great pick just because he's an athlete and they could see what they can do with him on the defensive side of the ball. And then they had to get someone to plug the middle of that defense. I told Hunter that, defensive tackle was a big part. big deal. When you lose a Demario Davis and you lose a key figure in stopping the run, when you already had a problem stopping the run last year with the current guys you have on the roster, you have to find a run-stuffing defensive tackle. And they were fortunate enough to be able to get Christian Miller in the second, pluck him away out of Georgia, and then still get Oscar Delp. So huge first 3 rounds of this draft for the New Orleans Saints, and I think all 3 of those guys are going to have significant roles in 2026.
Well, it's interesting, everybody's got opinions, right? And like, you love Oscar Delp, although PFF.com had him like 215th ranked player, and he was the 73rd overall. So
that's because of stats and numbers,
right? But Bryce
numbers.
Lance, who you're not as high on, they had him as 136th. Excuse me, as a 67th ranked player, and he went 136. So, it'd be fun to see, how it all flips, how it all plays out.
Yeah, of course.
They gave PFF.com gave a B rating, and I've pretty much seen that. I feel like B plus is what everybody is giving the Saints class. I do feel like they did draft for need, and in a year like last year, every single player drafted, played in a regular season game. And I kind of get the feeling like we're always trending that way again with this class. I mean, that's on paper at least, but I think the Saints are very much still in that position where they're in a little bit of a cap spot, and they need to hit on these rookies and these first and second year guys. They can't afford to go buy players.
No doubt. And look, they just happened to get guys of need right where they needed them. Right? I mean, they needed a number 1 receiver to go along with Chris Olave, and then they got him. They got him at 8. They feel like Jordan Tyson's a number 1 wide receiver. They needed a defensive tackle that can play the nose, that can play the 3 technique. They got it in Christian Miller. I mean, he's proven to be a dog on the field, a monster. He just happened to be there in the second round, and they were able to get him. They needed another tight end that could block. They needed a blocking tight end that was not Foster Moreau. Right? Foster Moreau doesn't really give you anything in the passing game. He gives you a little something, but he's not really a threat. Oscar Delp can block first and foremost. And then I told you this before the draft. His numbers, his athletic numbers, are better than George Kittle's, Bowers, who played before him, and Laporta. That got all those guys high. Laporta and Bowers went high in the draft because of their measurables. The guy's a 1.55 burst, a 10-yard split. I know most people don't really know what that means. It means his initial burst off the line of scrimmage is elite, like Dwight Freeney elite, okay? The guy runs a 4.4 at 6'5", 245 pounds. I mean, you go tell me you can't get that guy in the flats on a what's John Gruden's play? The Y banana.
Yeah.
That's his play. That's going to be his play, dude. Oh my God, is he going to come out of the backfield? It's going to be 3rd and 2, or let's just say it's 3rd and 1, and you're going to be able to call that play in short yardage situations. Who's going to guard that guy coming from the opposite side of the field, coming across the backside of the back? I mean, nobody. That's going to be very difficult. And then you got Olave in the Z going crossing the field, and you're going to have a high-low situation. It's going to put so much pressure because Oscar Delp is also a blocking threat. So now he's on the field. You don't know if we're going to run or pass. If Juwan Johnson's in the game, it's more than likely going to be a pass, right? So with Oscar Delp on the field, you have no idea if we're running power or if we're going to run those spider Y banana, which gets that halfback / tight end in the flats. It's unbelievable what's going to happen here. I love the pick. It's perfect for what Kellen Moore wants to do. It's perfect for what the NFL is doing right now. You have to have those 3 tight ends, and you have to have a tight end that can do it all. And Oscar Delp can do it, and they didn't have it on their roster. And the point is you said that they look like they drafted for need. Well, they did, but they drafted really good players at those points, and it just so happens to cover a need.
We're talking with Joel Davis. Joel, jumping off the Saints for a minute. Garrett Nussmeier, obviously big topic. He fell all the way to the Kansas City Chiefs in the 7th round, and obviously he's not intended to play there. He's not going to be pushing anybody. He's going to be sitting behind Patrick Mahomes, so they just hope he can develop into a quality backup where they can save a little money there by having a rookie potentially and someone who's on that contract for a couple of years. And why did he fall like that? And because I thought 3rd round was probably maybe 3rd or 4th round was where he was headed, but to fall all the way to 7 was shocking.
Well, I think there's more to it than what we know.
You talking about health-wise?
I think, yeah. Well, no, just personality.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe his interviews didn't go as well as people thought. I saw him on the Gruden special. I thought he was fantastic. I thought he was really, really engaging, and I thought that he came across as a really intelligent young man. Who knows? I mean, what the injury and the lack of production last year, something that they saw. Obviously, teams were afraid of it, and there's so many factors that can go into it. It can be personality, it can be fit, it can be. He's a coach's kid, so you would think he would get a little credit for that, right?
Right.
You would think that usually that gives you a boost as opposed to something else. So there had to be more than the injury to me, because they saw his tape. They saw his tape in 2024, and it was pretty damn good. As a kid that can make every play. But what Nussmeier lacks is what the NFL wants right now, and they want a guy that can pick up that first down when things break down. And Nussmeier has not been able to do that. That's not his game. He retreats, right, as opposed to jumps up into the pocket and finds places to run. That's not his game. So to me, that's going to hurt you. Like, you're not going to pick me up a cheap first down when things break down. You're not going to be able to do that. He's like Zach Mettenberger, but a lot smaller. That's who he reminds me of, Zach Mettenberger.
Yeah, that's a good comp. I see that.
But like 3 inches shorter. You know what I'm saying? So he's a lead-footed quarterback, and he's not going to do things athletically. And in the NFL, that's what they're wanting. They're wanting the dual threat quarterback to where they can actually put pressure on linebackers and safeties, because they don't know. They gotta leave a guy in there, because that quarterback,
right?
Because the fact that he can't run puts another defender in coverage, basically, and that's a turnoff. If I'm an offensive coordinator, I'm not looking for that.
Yeah, and I think clearly the athleticism and the foot speed and all those things work tremendously against him in a day and age where, hey, we see a Lamar Jackson or others that may not necessarily be the best.
Tyler Shuck.
Tyler Shuck. Not the best, just pure passer. You got to do both. Or be extreme one way or the other, right? You got to be exceptional.
Or be Matt Stafford.
Matt Stafford. The days of Dan Marino and Peyton Manning sitting in the pocket and picking you apart. Even Brett Favre could run a little bit.
I think
absolutely.
Listen, I think Kansas City got a value there. I mean, to get
100%.
To get him at the 7th pick 7th round, I think that's absolutely. Even though you have a franchise quarterback, I think it makes all the sense in the world that you figure, hey, this guy probably can become a backup.
He's also part of a story I read, I think yesterday, the number of guys he and Diego Pavia who are taking a pay cut now that they're in the NFL versus college, absolutely, which didn't exist years ago. You didn't take a pay cut. You got a pay increase. Now these guys are getting pay cuts to get to the league.
It's funny to me how Diego Pavia was just shocked that he didn't get drafted.
Did you hear what he said in his interview? With 2 teams, he said, I expect to be the number 1 guy. I'm not coming here to be a backup. They didn't pick
Such a goofball, dude.
Right. Yeah, stay in your lane, dude.
Yeah.
But he just it's a know-it-all. Nobody wants that in the locker room, to know-it-all. You're 4'2", dude.
It's Johnny Manziel vibes. It's really makes you.
It's very Johnny Manziel.
Yeah. I think Manziel was a better player.
I mean, probably was.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But
and he was bigger. He was bigger, and he had a better arm. How about this? You know, he reminds me of Guidar Sarducci. That's why. I mean, that's who I like. Right. Like that's his uncle. Guido Sarducci is his uncle. And I don't know if I want that team, that group of people, in my organization, and him going out on the weekends. I mean, the dude's a party animal. It's very Johnny Manziel. You know what? doesn't it really make you respect the hell out of a Matthew Stafford, bro? Because he's the last. Think about it. He's like
Sam
the last.
Darnold.
But not a Sam Darnold. Well, no, Sam's actually very athletic. Sam can actually do some things with his leg, and he can do things when things break down. But Matthew Stafford, he's not really the fleet of foot, but he looks better today than he did when he came in the league physically.
Yeah.
Like physically, right now, he looks better than he did when he came in the league. But this is a guy that can just sit in the pocket and just rip your heart out of your soul, dude. And it just, man, you want to watch good quarterback play, probably the best in the NFL, just your old school cannon of an arm, Dan Marino style quarterback. If you want to know, that's Matthew Stafford, dude. That style of quarterback is almost non-existent. And the problem is that you're never going to develop that because they're not bringing these guys in and giving them a chance to develop.
Right. It's not the
system. It's like these guys are so worried about their jobs. They're getting rid of guys in year one if they don't produce, the coaches.
Yeah.
So they don't want to put the time and energy into developing these guys. So, just enjoy Matthew Stafford. I know you're not a Rams fan. I hate the Rams, obviously, for what they did to us in 2019, but the Saints, that is, in the championship game. But you just don't see it. Jared Goff is like a poor man Matthew Stafford. Jared Goff is nowhere near as talented as Matthew Stafford, but he's also that same type of quarterback that's not going to get you anything on third down, physically, but with your legs. I just love a good quarterback play. Matthew Stafford is elite, man. It's going to be sad when he's gone.
Joel Davis, thank you so much, my friend. We'll see you next week on more Sports Shorts.
Sounds good, my boy.
All right, Joel Davis, go check him out over at Woodhaven Furniture Company in Baton Rouge. By the way, we're over here in Plaquemine at Fat Daddy's and Little Daddy's, the home of the best po' boys on the west side, and, of course, home of the Sandwich of the Month Club, and where they change it up each and every month. They have a special feature sandwich, and then in December they bring back the winner from the year. All the regulars vote, and then whichever one everybody likes, they bring it back for December. This month it's the Sloppy Jose. It's a pork carnita sandwich with rojo sauce, avocado, pico de gallo, Mexican cheese blend on a torta roll. And we are 3 minutes away from one of the best golf courses in the area, the Island Golf and Country Club. And today, Tommy, is golf weather. I mean, it is absolutely perfect. Sunshine, a little bit cool even. It is golf weather. You can go short sleeve, long sleeve, whatever you want. The Island Golf and Country Club over there with Chris Bergstaller running the show. They do a great job. It'll be the home of the Rougarou Celebrity Classic on May 18th for the second year in a row. And go check it out. You can always kind of find a slot to get in there at the Island Golf Course, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge. We'll take a break. Be back with more Sports Shorts. Hour number 2, Warren Morris will join us. Brennan Bro to talk Raging Cajun baseball and a whole lot more. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to Sports Shorts Radio.
Welcome back, everyone, over here at Fat Daddies and Little Daddies in the heart of Plaquemine, Louisiana, for the home of the Sandwich of the Month. And just a short segment, and then we'll be joined by Warren Morris, who will be joining us next segment. It is a big day in Lafayette. The Raging Cajuns, like a lot of teams in Louisiana, did not play yesterday due to weather. So the Raging Cajuns, who are trying to be one of the top 10 teams in the Sun Belt Conference to make their conference tournament, winners of 2 in a row, Raging Cajuns find themselves outside of the top 10 at the moment, but plenty of opportunity to take advantage to get in there. I'll explain. Right now, Coastal Carolina, the team LSU beat in the National Championship Series last year, is having a great year again. 18-4 in the Sun Belt, 32-13 overall. They are running away with the Sun Belt. They are 5 games up on Southern Miss, who's got 13-8. Then you have App State, who's also 13-8, having a nice year. Troy, 12-9. That's your top 4. Remember, the top 6 teams in the Sun Belt Conference make it to the double elimination round. Teams 7 through 10 play a single elimination play-in game. So right now, Coastal Carolina, Southern Miss, App State, Troy, South Alabama's 12-10 in 5th place. 6th place is Arkansas State at 11-12. That's your top 6 at the moment with a couple weeks left to go. Then after that, you have a logjam. ULM, Georgia State, Texas State, Marshall, all 10 have 10 wins. Old Dominion has 10 wins. And then you have the Raging Cajuns with 9 wins. So you're basically between 7th, you have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 7th and 12th place is separated by 1 win. So it is going to be a sprint down the finish for the Raging Cajuns to make sure they secure that top 10 spot in the Sun Belt tournament.
Well, you want to play your best baseball in the month of May and, of course, June. So it's time for the Raging Cajuns and, everybody, McNeese, Louisiana Monroe, Tulane UNO. Get it going right now. It'd be a good time to get real hot.
It is not an advantageous schedule for the Raging Cajuns. They can help themselves this weekend. They're at home today, doubleheader against Georgia State. Remember, Jonathan Lucroy, the former great, is getting his jersey retired at 2 o'clock today. Ron Guidry will be there as well. They take on Georgia State, who's 10-11. Remember, Raging Cajuns 9-12, so they're ahead of them. But then Raging Cajuns go on the road to Appalachian State. App State is 13-8, having a really good year. They're currently tied for 2nd place in the league. And then they come home and take on Coastal Carolina, who's the best team in the league by far. So it does not get easy. They're gonna have to really buckle down. This is the weekend at home against a team that's basically like themselves. They have got to win this series to give themselves a chance because the schedule is brutal the next 2 weeks. We'll take a break. When we come back, hour number 2, we'll start live Sports Shorts Radio from Fat Daddies and Little Daddies in Plaquemine. LSU great and impending Louisiana Sports Hall of Famer this June. He'll receive the Ambassador Award from the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. Warren Morris, you've watched the documentary. You've heard about his name. 30-year anniversary of that big home run to win the national championship with the Tigers. He's coming up next. Don't go anywhere.
Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2, Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. This is Sports Shorts Radio.
Welcome back, everyone. Ronnie Rance here with you live from Fat Daddy's and Little Daddy's. Great sandwich place and sports bar and everything over in Plaquemine, Louisiana, alongside Tommy Chrysan. And joining us right now on the phone line is former LSU Tiger and the winner of the 2026 Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame Ambassador Award. He'll be going into the Hall of Fame this summer up in Natchitoches. Warren Morris joins us. What's going on, Big Warren?
Hey, Ronnie. Good, man. How are y'all doing this morning?
Doing fantastic, man. I know you're en route from Cenla, Central Louisiana, headed to Baton Rouge for the reunion of the 1996 LSU Baseball National Championship team, 30-year anniversary. And, of course, everybody remembers you hitting that big home run to win that national championship. What are you looking forward to the most today, man?
Oh, it's always great to, get back to the box. And, it's going to be extra special today because so many teammates, guys I don't get to see very often, kind of gather together. We did this 10 years ago for the 20th year anniversary, and just awesome to, be back around those guys and, Coach Bertman. And, so really just looking forward to just soaking it all in and being back there and celebrating just that, something great that, LSU is just a winning tradition, but it's awesome to think that we had a part in all that.
Well, you've been going to the box a little bit more the last couple of years. Your daughter, was it Amelia, right?
That's right. She's a bat girl.
She's a bat girl for the last 3 years. And excuse me. The 96 team.
Yeah, 96, Warren Ronnie's got to get a sip of water there, but the 96 team, the great memories are endless.
My question to you, Warren, is, of course, when everybody thinks 96, they immediately go to that moment in the bottom of the ninth. But I want to go back. When you think about that third national championship team, 30-year anniversary, what about that team was different or special? You were on the team in 93. You were there in 94 and 95, other great teams. What about that 96 team made that team so memorable?
I think just the closeness of the group. I'm sure most teams that win a championship like that would say that's a big factor. We didn't really have the superstars on that team. We just played really well together. Eddie Furness, of course, his numbers retired, but he was a sophomore that year. We didn't have a Todd Walker or Ben McDonald, but just, had a bunch of guys that, we'd been together for a while and had some new guys come in that, we knew were going to help us a lot. 94, got to Omaha, went 2 games and out. 95, lost in the regional. So we just felt like if we were going to, leave our mark on the program, this was our time. And, Tim Lanier was just a great guy to kind of get us all together and focus on that. And I always felt like when you got Skip Bertman in your dugout, you have an advantage in every game. So when we got to Omaha, we just felt like we were a team of destiny and somehow we were going to come out on top.
Talking with Warren Morris, Warren, everyone remembers your personal story, which with 96 was a tough year. You had the hamate bone injury, you were out for a number of games, and obviously most famously not healthy until that final game. With the hamate bone injury happening now to Brown, was there communication between you and him and his family?
No. I mean, I hate that for him. He was having such a great year, and I can definitely relate. It just takes one swing like that. His diagnosis, they figured out what the problem was quick. Kind of the issue with mine was I heard it early in the season and really couldn't pinpoint what the problem was. And, 2 months later is when they found out that it was the hamate bone. But, I think he's got a bright future ahead of him, hopefully in pro baseball. But hate that for him that he didn't get to finish out this great season. But, we were all fortunate to be able to see him do what he's done there at LSU and help him win a championship last year.
Is it automatic that if a baseball player has a hamate bone injury, they call you? Like, does your phone ring like once a year? I'm serious.
No, not all the time. I mean, I've learned over the years it's somewhat of a common baseball injury. Of course, before I got it, I'd never heard of that. I
Right.
didn't know what a hamate bone is, but like Coach Bertman would say, that the Jose Cansecos and the Ken Griffey Juniors, they had that injury and had the surgery. So it happened. I think Mike Fontenot had it soon after me, but yeah, it is kind of, I guess, just ironic the fact that I had mine and then came back and we won that championship and winning on a home run like that. That's why I guess my name comes up with that. Not quite in the same realm as like Tommy John with the surgery. Not known for it, but still, it's kind of neat to talk about it.
Yeah, it needs to be the Warren Morris bone. I like that. I like
Yeah,
the Warren Morris.
I vote for that.
The Warren Morris surgery. I mean, look, that's a fact. I mean, I remember when you had that injury 30 years ago, newspapers and whatnot were explaining what the hamate bone is, and it was kind of like it's the tonsils of your wrist, like you don't really need it, or whatever, right?
Well, nobody could look it up on the internet or do the AI thing. I remember the same thing, a hamate bone, and we were all like couldn't wait to read the article to find out what it was, especially any of us that were involved with the game of baseball.
But it's amazing, because like I said, 99% of the population in the state of Louisiana, at least, didn't know what it was. And now for the last 30 years, every single time you hear it, the Warren Morris injury. Like, I mean, it's incredible. Well, that's the case.
And I told somebody who asked me about Jake Brown. So Warren had the surgery, hit the game-winning homer. He also played 5 years in the major leagues after having that surgery. So it doesn't mean it's a career-ending thing.
So today's going to be super special. Obviously, Coach Bertman, 87 years old. He'll be 88 May 23rd. He just came off of having his this is so cool. He flew down to Miami with his 3 daughters, and they named the field that he played and coached at, a little league field basically that he grew up on. They named it after him. It's the same field in the same location. It was a special moment, and I was with him the other day at his house, and he talked about it. He's like, he understood that this is the last time he's ever going to be back there. It's the last time he's ever going to see many of those people. He's like, I saw people I haven't seen in 40 years, 50 years, since he left Miami in 1983 to come to Baton Rouge in the summer of 83. Like many of those people that were there, he had 200-300 folks at the ceremony. He hadn't seen them in 40 years. And so pretty incredible. And I know today's going to be another special moment. How often, Warren, do you get a chance to visit or talk to Coach Bertman?
Yeah, I mean, I do from time to time. I'll give him a phone call, and it's always good to catch up. He loves to, just hear what's going on with me, my family, and kids. And I mean, I think it's great that Jay Johnson has really just embraced the fact that he's got a living legend and a coaching guru right there. And I've heard he meets with him once a week, and just awesome that Coach is still so sharp and able to still reach out and do so much for the LSU community. And I mean, my question is, why did they wait so long to name that field in Miami? But I'm glad they did it. That's awesome.
Warren, if you remember, Coach Bertman gave a talk and signed some books at an auto dealership in Alexandria. I'm the one that had brought him up there that day. So I remember us all being together that day and then having lunch. That was a few years ago, though.
Well,
it was.
What's funny is I was talking to Coach, and he said that, Warren. He said, yeah, I don't know why it took so long. I mean, not that it matters. I didn't really, I don't care about that. But I just don't know why it took so long. But he points it out, too. I got to get your takeaway, Warren. I mean, 1995 was not the best team for LSU baseball. Didn't make it to Omaha. A little bit of a down year as far as LSU down years go. And then 96, you win the national championship. Obviously, there's some major struggles this year for this LSU baseball team. 9 losses in a row in the SEC. As far as series go, that's never happened before. Three-game sweeps in a row. What are you seeing from afar? And obviously it's different these days, right? The teams get, the roster gets flipped pretty much 50% or more each and every year. How much of a factor do you count that?
No, it is. And I mean, evidently it is a big deal the year after you win a championship. Because, I mean, even you look at Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and, even in 23, the 24 team we had was good, but didn't have what it takes to get to the, to the promised land. So it's just tough. And, I would be the first to admit that the SEC from top to bottom is much tougher now than even when we were in the SEC.
Yeah.
We had really good teams, and winning the SEC tournament, they always said, may be harder than winning the national championship. But from top to bottom, it wasn't as good as it is now. And I think Jay Johnson does a great job. And I have no doubt that next year it'll be a whole different story. But I think it just speaks to the level of expectation that the program has. That's what you want. I remember Coach telling us, we want pressure. We want to feel like every game everybody expects us to win, because if we were just mediocre, then it wouldn't be any pressure. So, maybe they didn't go as well as they want this year, but, I think now is the time to start preparing, and you won't have the long Omaha experience likely. I mean, unless something just really wild and crazy happens. So you can, some of the needs that are there and, get back next year. And there's no doubt the fans are going to be back and ready to go for next year. So just, it hasn't been obviously the way they hoped. Started out preseason number one, but that happens. It's baseball, and everybody else is trying to get that same trophy.
Lastly, we're talking to Warren Morris. Last question, Warren. So next segment, we're going to talk to Jason Williams. Obviously you played second base. He played shortstop. You both were on the USA Olympic team in Atlanta, won the bronze medal in '96. Both of you were really, along with Tim Lanier, the leaders of that '96 LSU baseball team. Stephen Milam's having a fantastic year at shortstop. I mean, he's only got one error on the season. I mean, that's just incredible. But Jason Williams was an amazing defensive shortstop as well, and you played alongside him for years. Just give me a quick takeaway and your memories of Jason Williams, because a lot of folks, in LSU baseball don't remember that name like they should, because the games weren't on TV each and every day like they are now.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember at one time he was the all-time SEC hits leader.
Mm-hmm.
So, just a guy that was consistent, was somebody you could count on, like possibly one of the greatest teammates I've ever had. Just was a guy that you wanted to go to war with. And, I was fortunate enough, like you said, to play not only at LSU with him, but play on that Olympic team. That was with guys that went on to be all-stars in the leagues. And you think about one of the most important positions, the quarterback, if you will, on the infield at shortstop, and he was selected throughout all the players in the nation to play that. And, just a great guy, and, looking forward to catching up with him. But, yeah, I think sometimes you're right. People forget about, what he did and how great he was at LSU. And, I was able to watch it day in and day out. And, just happy for him and glad that he's, I know he's been inducted into the LSU Athletic Hall of Fame, which is well deserved.
Warren Morris, thank you, buddy, for joining us. Appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you May 12th in Alexandria for the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame Celebrity Golf Tournament. Congratulations on your induction, which will take place at the end of June. We'll have you back on sometime in June before that to talk about your induction. And well-deserved, my friend, and we'll see you out there this afternoon.
All right, great. Thanks, Ronnie. Hopefully we can get this same weather on May 12th, too, for the golf tournament.
Boy, it'd be great, wouldn't it? I mean, this is amazing.
Yeah.
All right, buddy.
All right,
We'll see you then. Speaking of that celebrity golf tournament, it's open to the public. If you want to play in it, you can go to lasportshall.com. lasportshall.com. Individual golfers, teams available. Going to be at Links on the Bayou in Alexandria at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, May 12th. Well, if you're playing the tournament, each golfer gets 2 pairs. You don't even have to use them yourself if you want. If your company, you want to give them to someone else to use, that's fine. There's a celebrity pairings party on Monday, May 11th in Alexandria at Spirits Restaurant. It's going to be a great event. So definitely support the Hall of Fame and come check out that golf tournament, May 11th and 12th in Alexandria. Folks can come join us. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, the aforementioned Jason Williams, we'll talk to him as well. We'll talk a little LSU baseball, we'll reminisce as well. And then at 11:30, Brennan Bro will join us, the former Raging Cajun. Started off his career at LSU, but finished it up as a great Raging Cajun outfielder. He's on the broadcast for all the ESPN Plus games in Lafayette. Big series for the Raging Cajuns taking on Georgia State this weekend, but today is Jonathan Lucroy Day, and we'll talk to Brennan about that and more. Don't go anywhere. Sports Source will continue from Fat Daddies and Little Daddies in Plaquemine, Louisiana, right after this.
Now back to Sports Shorts Radio.
Welcome back, everyone. Ronnie Rance here with you, live from Fat Daddy's and Little Daddy's in Plaquemine, home of the sandwich of the month. This month, it's the Sloppy Jose. It's a pork carnitas, rojo sauce, avocado, pico de gallo, Mexican cheese blend on a torta roll, and of course, you can all the other great specials. They have the awesome tater tots, the Sharon special, and fish sandwiches, fried shrimp, you name it, at Fat Daddy's and Little Daddy's and Plaquemine. Great place also to watch, LSU baseball today at 1 o'clock. The Tigers in a doubleheader, and you can go check that out. 1 and 6, I believe.
6:30.
Right? 1 and 6:30 are the times of the game. Joining us right now, a guy who will be out there, Jason Williams, former LSU Tiger, celebrating the 30-year anniversary of that 1996 national championship team. He was the captain, leader, shortstop, and then, of course, went on to win a bronze medal that summer in the Atlanta Olympics alongside Warren Morris, who we just had on last segment. And J-Dub, Warren had some nice things, of course, to say about you from a defensive standpoint, and of course, all-time hits leader in the SEC when you hung it up in 1996. What do you remember? Not the home run. We all know about the home run. But what do you remember about Warren Morris on the other side? You playing short, him playing second. Y'all played together for a few years. What do you remember about him as a player?
I'll tell you what, in the 96 year, I felt bad for Warren because that's when he broke his hamate bone. And I know I don't know if he was preseason All-American, but he was going to have a great year. And to see him go through that, and come back and hit the home run and win it, I mean, it was amazing. But playing on side of Warren, he's one of the greatest guys I ever know. I think not just Warren, me, I think that whole team in 96 was just so tough. We had a lot of toughness, and you knew everybody was going to lay their body or give it 100% on the line every game. And I think that's what made that team special.
Talking with J-Dub, your story, your route from Santa Maria High School, 20 miles away from Baton Rouge's LSU's campus to the Tigers was not the traditional one, right? We talk about you and Warren Morris. You guys weren't big scholarship guys. You weren't guys that there was no NIL back then. You weren't guys that got a lot of scholarship from athletics. Matter of fact, no scholarship money from athletics when you started. Tell us your story of how you ended up in Baton Rouge and maybe another college that you were really considering.
Well, I was recruited mostly by in-state, Mississippi State, and basically Mike Bianco was at Northwestern Louisiana at the time. He gave me a full scholarship, but I really wanted to test my talents at LSU. And in my mind, I was going to give it a 2-year deal. If I wasn't starting to play in 2 years, I thought I was going to transfer. And me and Warren both redshirted, so I don't know if there's anybody redshirt these days. I'm not sure.
Right. Not unless you're hurt, yeah.
Right, but I was 17, had a late birthday, so I was 17 my first year in college, and I think the red shirt helped. It helped me, grow, get stronger, but it also helped the coaches see what I could do day in and day out, and how hard I worked, and being consistent. And the next year, finally got a chance, and never came out since.
But I mean, you and Warren, I believe y'all were both academic scholarships out of high school, right?
That's correct. We had a backup plan if we couldn't get I think Skip did give me a scholarship for baseball my last year. After we won a couple championships, and
after you proved yourself,
All-American. Yeah, thanks.
You got lunch. Not 3 meals. You got lunch.
Robert, I had to live at home in Galvez. And drive every day.
Unbelievable. Talking with Warren Morris. Talking with Jason Williams about his days playing with Warren and all the national championships. What are you looking forward to the most today, man? 30-year anniversary. It's amazing how time flies. But what are some of the thoughts you'll have, and what are you looking forward to today when you guys, many of you from that team, get together?
Man, it's a great. Every time we get together, all the stories, and not just the wins, the losses, just the everyday battles we had at practice, locker room, bus rides, hotels, just stuff like that. Just reminiscing about the good old times. And one thing is, these players today, they just don't know how great they got it. I mean, Ronnie, you was there when I was there. I mean, we got one shirt and one pair of shorts, to practice in for the whole fall. Now they get a wardrobes,
Closet full.
18 shoes and all that. I mean, I remember asking for some new shoes, and I had duct tape on my Converse, back then, and we couldn't get, a second pair of shoes. So these kids they got it made compared to where we was.
Speaking of got it made, try to put into words what the old box was like from a shortstop standpoint of playing that position on a field that had been there for, at that time, I don't know, maybe 70 years or whatever. And needless to say, probably the first 50 years, not a lot of money was put into the field. And now, of course, this field is spectacular. But that playing surface that you and Andy Sheets and Ryan Terrio and all the great shortstops had to play on at the old box, quite different than it is today.
Well, it was one of the worst fields in the SEC by far. I remember we had to spray paint the grass for one of the regionals because we didn't have grass; it was all dirt. But basically my cleats was the rake. I would try to rake my surface with my cleats every inning just because so I wouldn't get that bad hop in a crucial situation. I mean, you had to really play the hop, go get the ball when it bounced up. I mean,
yeah.
And I walked on the field. I don't know, something happened years ago when we got on the field. I don't know if it was what year celebration, but when I walked in the new field, I was like, I told Warren and some other teammates, I was like, this is unbelievable. I don't know if I've ever made an error in this because it was like glass. I never seen nothing like it. I mean, we had one grounds crew, right? Wardell, he was about the only grounds crew person we had.
That's right.
I mean, we were the grounds crew. We had to rake the field, water it. I mean, it was. I don't think people realize how bad it was until you get on the field actually, because I mean, it was all painted, spray painted, and watered down to try to look good. But it was about a bad house on that surface.
Yeah, I mean, well, all you got to know is to know how bad the surface was. So you look at all the errors that shortstops made for 20 years, and that guys that played in the big leagues, struggled defensively. And of course, your junior year, I think you made like 5 or less errors or whatever the entire season, which is incredible. But there's another guy, Stephen Milam, who's having a sensational season this year. Only 1 error to this point of the season. That was a throw-in error that was a little bit off to the right. Obviously, if Dardar would have probably been a little bit more of an athlete, he makes that catch and you don't even have an error. But does he remind you of yourself when you watch him play defensively?
Yeah, I think I anticipated where the ball was in the catcher's mitt, where they was going to hit it to try to get that extra first step. I think he does that. On watching the pitch. The catcher call the pitches, hopefully the pitcher hits that spot. So to get an extra step, I was pretty quick that first step. That gave me an advantage. But just go and get that hop of sitting back on the long hop, I think he really does a really good job like that, like I used to do. And I actually, Ronnie, I think 3 of my 5 errors might have been throwing errors. I mean, right. I remember going deep in the hole and throwing a one hopper to Burns over there, and I think he missed it or something. They gave me the error. I was like, "What's up with that?" But yeah, I mean, that is amazing what he's doing. I mean, even on the field, that's like it is. I mean, just not have no throwing errors or missing a ball from a catcher pop. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it now, and obviously he does a really good job of that.
One last thing, Warren, they show him on TV all the time with the earpiece. We're talking with Jason Williams. One has the earpiece. What would that have helped you? Would you have preferred to been able to hear, say, Skip Bertman tell the catcher Lanier, "Hey, this is what I want"? Would that have helped better than just the signals, or not really?
Well, I guess it depends on the pitcher. I actually knew who could hit spots, who couldn't when it was up there. So, but I would watch. Most people watch the batter. I watch the ball out the hand from the pitcher to the batter. That way. And where the catcher's setting up and where the catcher's going with the glove to get that extra step. If there's a change of curveball, that was easy to read if they're going to pull or whatever. But a lot of infielders give it away. They might move here or there before the pitch. I try not to do that till really, really late. With a changeup you see I remember I was playing AAA ball and the shortstop was signaling to the third baseman every time there was off speed. I'm like, this dude's giving it away.
Right.
When I'm hitting, so I didn't even get the signal from the catcher or pitcher. I know, but just stuff like that, being able to read before and anticipate, that first step is everything in the infield, especially in the SEC when they hit the ball so hard and getting that great hop. If you get a good hop every time, it makes it a little bit easy. So that's what I try to tell all the players that I've coached in the past or talked to.
Jason Williams, our guest. Thank you much. Thanks so much, J-Dub, for joining us. Enjoy the 30-year anniversary today of that LSU baseball 1996 national championship team. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Appreciate it, man.
All right, the great Jason Williams right there, former Santa Monica, great guy, and made it all the way to AAA, Tommy. Batted .388 in the Cincinnati Reds organization 1 year in AAA, and they did not call him up to the big leagues.
He's one of many guys who you just figure out never did cross that bridge, from AAA to the bigs, and had the numbers and the talent. He's such a hard worker. Great guy. I know Jason well.
All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll visit with Brennan Bro. Brennan Bro it will join us. We'll talk to him, the former Raging Cajun outfielder who will be on the call today for the doubleheader with the Raging Cajuns on ESPN. It's Jonathan Lucroy Day as they retire his jersey today. And but before we do that, we'll talk to River of Life's Patrick Scallon. That's all coming up next, live from Fat Daddies and Little Daddies in Plaquemine. Don't go anywhere. Sports Shorts will continue in Lake Charles, Lafayette, and Baton Rouge.
Welcome back to Sports Shorts Radio.
Ronnie Rance, Tommy Chrysan with you over at Fat Daddies and Little Daddies and Plaquemine. Last half hour of Sports Shorts Radio to go. Joining us before we get to Brennan Bro is Patrick Scallon, the founder of River of Life Capsules.com. Patrick, how are you, my friend? And, the River of Life, we talked about it in the first segment of the show. It's got the top 3 natural ingredients in the world that are as effective as the pharmaceutical or OTC ingredients for pain, arthritis, and soreness. Instead of taking those over-the-counter medications, why riveroflifecapsules.com?
Hey, good morning, guys. So, the bottom line is that anybody on any type of opioid for pain, narco, tramadol, gabapentin, Bayer, Tylenol, Advil, whatever it may be, these opioids or OTC medications are, they work, but they're toxic to your body. They're made out of benzene. So what you want, if I was you, I strongly suggest you get on a natural and organic pain reliever. Well, River of Life is the antithesis of anything that is bad for you. So it has the same results for, joint pain, inflammation, arthritis, stress, anxiety. Riveroflifecapsules.com, guys, they do have the top 3 ingredients in the world that people order for natural pain relief. Turmeric, ashwagandha, ginger, bromelain, and everything is documented by the U.S. government in different reports to be as effective as all these opioids, all these over-the-counter medications. Do yourself a favor. If you want to live longer and you want to, be pain-free, go to riveroflifecapsules.com. We're not just saying it; it's a fact. If you look up the ingredients and look up the reports, but riveroflifecapsules.com, we have thousands on it in the Louisiana area. They're doing fantastic. Usually if you take 2, within 30 minutes, you can sit there and watch me, and I can guarantee you in 30 minutes, you're going to be feeling great. So just go to riveroflifecapsules.com. Do yourself a favor, live longer, be stronger, and get off that addictive stuff that's not good for you. riveroflifecapsules.com.
Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate you much.
Thank you.
Enjoy this beautiful Saturday. And now let's head over to Lafayette, Louisiana, where the Raging Cajuns baseball squad finds themselves with a little work to do in the last 9 games of the Sun Belt Conference season. They are 12th place in the league. Only the top 10 teams advance to the Sun Belt Conference tournament, but they're only a game out of like 7th place. So, but they've got a tough series. They have a 3-game series starting today, doubleheader today, single game tomorrow against Georgia State, a team who's ahead of them in the standings. And Brennan Bro, former Raging Cajun outfielder, and he'll be on the call today with Dan McDonald as the color analyst for the ESPN Plus broadcast all weekend long, joins us. What's going on, my friend? How are you, B?
What's happening, Ronnie? Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Let's talk about the series before we talk about Jonathan Lucroy Day. The Raging Cajuns have won 2 in a row. They've played better of late, but boy, their final 6 games of the season are brutal. After Georgia State this weekend, they go on the road to App State, who's second in the league, and then they come home and play Coastal Carolina, who's the best team in the league by far. Of course, LSU fans remember Coastal is the team they beat to win the national championship last year. So this weekend feels mega important.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And to your point earlier, Coastal's sitting alone at the top of the standings at, I think, 18-4 with their record. Just underneath them is Southern Miss. And then everybody else from 3 to 12 is only, 3 or 4 games apart from each other. So the last 3 weekends, or 3 weekends, as it always does, is gonna hold major weight, and you're gonna see a lot of ups and downs and changes and fluctuations in those standings. So, but yeah, Cajuns they put together a good weekend last weekend on the road against Arkansas State. Their offense is starting to really get going. They're starting to play good ball at the right time. It's just, if they can build on that and continue that throughout the last 3 weekends of the season, they're gonna need it.
Well, I feel like this weekend they really almost need to sweep, but definitely got to win the weekend series. Right now, who's some of the players to watch, as far as you've been in all the games this year, who's 1 or 2 of the guys that are really starting to come into their own down the stretch?
Yeah, Colt Brown, for one, freshman catcher, came out of the gates really hot, struggled a little bit through the middle part of the season, but is really picking it back up. He's the anchor back there behind the plate. And a big key for them is their pitching. Their rotation has been, there's been a bunch of changes. There hasn't been a whole lot of stability in the rotation as a whole, moving Cody Brash up to the Friday night spot. So he'll throw in that first game today. Really good, hard-throwing right-handed pitcher. If he can give you some innings, if he can go deep into the games, it saves that bullpen for the rest of the series. Andrew Herman, again, that second leg of that 3-piece rotation. And then if the offense and defense can match the pitching and the pitching can match the offense like they've done in the last 2 weeks, they're playing good baseball. They just need to piggyback on that, build off of it, and see if they can put at least 2 together this weekend. Like you said, they're kind of in that do or die point of even missing the tournament. So yeah, big weekend for the Cajuns.
Talking to Brennan Bro, he'll be on the call, former UL outfielder. He'll be on the call today on ESPN, the app. So check it out. 2:00 is when that game starts, doubleheader for the Raging Cajuns. Today is Jonathan Lucroy Day. They're retiring his jersey. That's a big deal in Lafayette. I mean, you're talking about he's joining Tony Robichaux, Ron Guidry, who will be there today. Ron will be there, the Louisiana Lightning, for the presentation. I mean, this doesn't happen very often at any school, but particularly for the Raging Cajuns. What growing up in Lafayette and playing baseball at St. Thomas More, what do you remember about Jonathan Lucroy and how and his impact on this program?
Yeah, I mean, I'll bring it back to all the way when I was 10, 11 years old. I was actually a bat boy for the Raging Cajuns in that program for a couple of years, and that was in the Jonathan Lucroy days. And so, to me as a 10-year-old boy, that was, those guys were Superman, and didn't really appreciate the greatness of that team and of Jonathan, at that time. But as you grow older and then full circle moment, be able to play and wear the uniform, the same ones that those guys did, it's just such a cool experience for not only the fans, for Jonathan to come back, such a storied career, not only with the Cajuns, but 12-year big leaguer, 2-time All-Star. 2017 World Baseball Classic. He's got a World Series ring with the Braves. So I mean, just a storied career and a better human being, and so well deserving. To your point, Ronnie, I mean, he's going in with 2 legends, and he's a legend in his own right.
Talking with Brennan Bro. Today's going to be special because, I mean, again, Ron Guidry, Louisiana Lightning, he's a Louisiana Sports Hall of Famer. That you're not going to get him to the ballpark all the time, and I know he's planning on watching a game in between the first and second inning. So basically, the top of the second inning before they start. Myself, Ron Guidry, and Jonathan Lucroy will be on the field for a quick 2-minute presentation representing the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, because Jonathan Lucroy is going into the Hall of Fame at the end of June. And then I look forward to joining you and Dan in the booth for an inning right after that. And I know Jonathan will will join you at some point today as well. Ron Guidry, man, like you're a young buck. You just finished playing a few years ago. Do you fully understand and appreciate what Ron Guidry means to us old folks that are over 50?
Yeah, look, and I'll tell you another quick little story too. We were playing at a little tournament. And again, I'm gonna bring it back to when I was 10, 11 years old. And my dad said, look, there's a little park right next to Ron Guidry's house, just north of Lafayette. And my dad, we're passing by going to the park, and Dad said, hey, look, Ron Guidry lives down this street. And I'm like, no, man, you're joking, whatever. We passed by the house. Ron Guidry is on his lawnmower cutting his grass. We stop by. He stops and talks to me for a little while. As a left-handed pitcher back in those days, I had just watched Ron Guidry's 18 strikeout no-hitter game, or 18 strikeout game, like a week before. So Ron Guidry was fresh in my mind. He came and as a left-handed pitcher taught me how to throw his slider, taught me the grip for his slider.
Oh, wow.
And so I implemented that. And again, it's kind of one of those moments as a 10, 11, 12-year-old, you don't really understand what that means to a lot of people. And then as you get older, again, the full circle moment, and having that experience, having that resource in your backyard here in Lafayette, man, it's such a cool memory to fall back on.
Let me just give the folks out there that may not quite understand the greatness of Ron Guidry, and it's really his second full season in the big leagues, which was 1978. He had 35 starts, which that alone is unbelievable, right? He went 25-3, 25 wins, 3 losses, had an ERA of 1.74. Okay, that's people talk about Paul Skeens. This is better than Paul Skeens, right?
I believe he broke the left-hand ERA pitching record of Babe Ruth when he did that.
I would assume he did. I mean, 1.74 and 35 starts. I mean, my goodness. He had 16 complete games, Tommy. 16 complete games. The whole American League doesn't have 16 complete games this year. He had 9 shutouts. He threw 273 and 2/3 innings. Let me just put that in comparison. If there was a pitching coach out there or a manager that allowed a big leaguer to throw 273 innings in a season this year, they'd put him in jail, right? He only gave up 187 hits. That's almost 100 hits less than innings pitched. He had let's see here. I'm trying to get 72 walks, 248 strikeouts.
That slaughter was filthy.
I mean, that's a 3.5 to 1 strikeout to walk ratio, and opponents hit only 193 against them. That's arguably one of the greatest. It's the greatest left-handed season of all time, and one of the greatest of all time. That's Ron Guidry. He'll be at the UL game today, honoring Jonathan Lucroy. Always great to see Gator anytime you get.
And look, I'll tell you this too, Ronnie. You know, just a little bit of an added bit to that story, to those stats. Ron would pitch on whatever day that he would pitch, and then 2 or 3 days later, he's throwing batting practice to the Yankees hitters at that time. And so the days of you throw on your day, and then you lift weights and you toss here and there. No, Ron is on the mound throwing batting practice at 70-80%. Just 3 days after he throws 140 pitches on any given Tuesday night.
I'm going to tell you a funny story real quick. My senior year in high school, which was the spring of 1990, Holy Savior Menard up in Alexandria, we're facing Turlings Catholic in the semifinals of the state playoffs. And Ron Guidry retired in 88. So this is literally like 2 years after he retired. They got Ron Guidry to throw batting practice all week long to Turlings, leading up to when they faced me in Alexandria. Needless to say, I lost. And Turlings won a state championship that year. They're like, we have to face it Ron Guidry all week. I mean, this Rance guy's no big deal. And that's unbelievable. Brennan, thanks so much, buddy, for joining us, man. And I will see you today. I look forward to visiting with you and Dan in the booth for the Raging Cajuns game.
And thanks always for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
All right, Brennan Bro right there started off his career out of St. Thomas More at LSU, and before transferring and playing 3 years at UL, he most famously at LSU, Lynn, Brennan Bro remembered for in the Possum game, which you were there. Brennan Bro came off the bench and got 3 hits in that game, as the Tigers beat Arkansas in that amazing comeback.
I got a Ron Guidry story before we go to break. And don't forget Court Street Cafe in Port Allen. Steak night tonight, the great brunch tomorrow. Court Street Cafe in Port Allen. Back in the day, I had dinner with Billy Martin one night, the Yankee manager, Ronnie. He told me the story. And when Guidry was in camp in 78 or 79 with the Yankees in spring training, Mickey Rivers, who was a center fielder, played a long time in the bigs, was very fast. Well, Guidry Mickey Rivers kept popping off. He's the fastest guy in the world. Team captain Thurman Munson. Munson is tired of hearing Rivers talk about this. Says, Mickey Rivers, I'll bet you $5,000 there's somebody on this team that can beat you in a 60-yard dash. Mickey Rivers says, there ain't no way. I'll bet you $5,000. It's in the 70s, okay? So they put the gloves down on the right field foul line. They stepped off 60 yards, put the gloves down for the finish line. All the Yankees at spring training, there's a bunch of guys there. They're all out there with the on your marks, get set, go. Ryan Guidry smoked him in the 60-yard dash, beat Mickey Rivers. Thurman Munson went to Mickey Rivers and said, don't ever tell me you're the fastest guy in the world again.
I'm going to try to ask him about that today and see if it's true, because Billy Martin never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
It might have been a 40-yard dash. It might have been a $5 bet. I don't know,
right.
But I had dinner with Billy Martin many moons ago, and it was one of the funnest nights of my life, 4 hours with Billy Martin.
Right.
So he did tell me that story, among many stories.
Many bottles were partaken in that.
There was a lot of Jack
event.
Daniels disappeared that night on his side of the table and mine.
All right, we'll take a break. Be back to wrap things up. Sports Shorts live over here at Fat Daddy's and Little Daddy's in Plaquemine. Don't go anywhere.
This is Sports Shorts Radio.
Here with you. Special thanks to all the great guests we've had today, the Jason Williams, Joel Davises, Warren Morris, Brennan Bro, you name it, and Patrick Scallon and all them as well. But this last segment brought to you by Louisiana Custom Turf, the original and longest standing turf company in Louisiana, proudly serving the state for over 26 years. They supply professional grade artificial turf tools, and installation supplies for contractors, landscapers, and sports facilities. Louisiana Custom Turf, they don't just sell turf, they help you plan it, deliver it, and train you to install it right. From material takeoffs to job site delivery and turf installation training, contractors looking to add turf installs or customers looking for a trusted installer, Louisiana Custom Turf is the name to know, especially if you got those golf simulator bays and all that. They are the specialist in that. Tommy, we got some, local guys that aren't quite in the big leagues yet doing well.
Cade Anderson has had 5 minor league starts. His record's 2-0. He's thrown 24 innings. Ronnie, his ERA is .37.
Wow.
0.37 in 24 innings. He's punched out 38. How many walks, Ron? 4.
Only 4 walks.
Cade Anderson off to a brilliant start. Another little local note for you, if you will. Garrett Temple. Played basketball at LSU back in the day.
He was on the 06 Final Four team for John Brady.
He just finished his 17th year, 17 in the NBA. Garrett Temple made almost $60 million playing just salary in the NBA, and he was on a Toronto team, had a pretty lucky shot last night, you saw.
Yeah, no, so speaking of Garrett Temple real quick, on that 06 LSU basketball team that went to the Final Four, you had guys like Tyrus Thomas.
Brady, who's going into the Louisiana Sports Hall
but I
of
mean,
Fame.
like, Tyrus Thomas, Glenn Big Baby Davis, these are the names that you thought, okay, they're the ones that most likely are going to play in the NBA or whatever forever. And instead, it's Garrett Temple. And what a class act. The guy's been an award winner as far as his philanthropy off the field and everything else. And, of course, still playing in the NBA, kind of more of as a coach on the sidelines and stuff like that, but still with as you mentioned, the Toronto Raptors, and their season is still, going on and stuff like that. They had an amazing game last night. Toronto hits a shot. They win 112-110 over Cleveland. That series is tied 3 apiece. They go to Game 7 tomorrow. The Raptors, the shooter hits the back of the rim, goes straight up into the air, 7 feet into the air, and then back straight down through the basket. You'll never see that shot again. that miracle shot saved their season, forced a Game 7, and the basket went through with a second left to play. So Garrett Temple still has his another season going. By the way, Lakers knocked off the Rockets in that series, and the Pistons beat the Magic last night. That series is tied 3 apiece. So we got a couple of Game 7s coming up. Going to be awesome. He's Tommy Krysan. Special thanks to all our guests, and special thanks to Fat Daddies and Little Daddies in Plaquemine. Have a great week, everybody.